You think power is loud? You think power is a speech, a flex, a smile that wins the room. That's why you keep getting ignored, tested, talked over, played with like a harmless object that happened to learn vocabulary. Because the truth is uglier. People don't follow confidence, they follow consequences. And right now, you have none. You walk into rooms with a polite face and an empty threat. You negotiate with your eyes. You ask for respect with your posture. You hope your intentions will be understood. You were trained to believe that being good is a currency. It isn't. It's a scent, and predators can smell it. Here's the part they never told you. The aura you envy in ruthless men isn't magic. It's not a gift. It's not genetics. It's a psychological field you build around yourself through proof, scarcity, and controlled danger. Not danger as violence, danger as uncertainty. As the awareness that you are not a toy, that you are not available, that you are not cheap to cross. Most people spend their lives trying to be liked. The powerful build a reality where being disliked doesn't matter. And that is where your aura begins. The moment you stop auditioning for safety and start installing respect. You've been trapped by an invisible mechanism, a social prison. It's subtle, and it's everywhere. You've been conditioned to broadcast weakness in exchange for acceptance. You over-explain, you respond too fast, you apologize for existing. You give people access to your emotions, your time, your attention, before they've earned it. So they treat you accordingly. Not because they're evil, because the human mind obeys signals. And you keep signaling, I can be pushed. This video is not about charisma. Charisma is decoration. This is about building an aura so ruthless that people instinctively adjust their behavior around you. They don't do it because you begged. They do it because their nervous system understands something before their ego can argue with it. They feel weight. They feel boundaries. They feel the cost. And if you're honest, you've never had that. You've had moments of it. On a good day, when you were focused, when you were detached, when you were too busy winning to be needy. But then you slid back into the old addiction, approval. That addiction is why most people fail at building a commanding presence. They think presence is something you perform, but aura isn't performed. Aura is leaked. You can fake confidence for a minute. You can't fake a life. So if you want this, if you want that ruthless gravity, you'll have to accept the reframe that makes weak men flinch. Your aura is your reputation with reality, not what you say you are, what you consistently do when no one is watching. Now listen carefully. I'm going to give you the laws, not motivational fantasies, not be yourself. Laws. And the first law is going to offend the part of you that still wants to be harmless. Good. Let it be offended. That's the old you dying. Principle 1, the law of controlled access. Most people give access to be liked. They open their lives like a public building. Their attention is a charity. Their availability is a promise. Their emotions are spilled on the floor for anyone to step in. Then they wonder why nobody values them. Because access is valuable. If you are always reachable, you are replaceable. If you always explain yourself, you are negotiable. If you always forgive instantly, you are safe to disrespect. The powerful understand something you haven't fully accepted. Your attention is a throne, not a couch. So stop letting random people sit in it. Controlled access doesn't mean being cold for the aesthetic. It means you don't reward behavior you wouldn't want repeated. It means you don't train people that you'll accept crumbs with a smile. You respond slower. Not as a game, because you actually have a life. You stop oversharing. You stop giving emotional reactions to casual disrespect. You stop making your schedule a sacrifice to someone else's indecision. And when someone pushes, you don't rush to prove your goodness. You let the silence do the proving, because silence is the first weapon of the dangerous man. It forces the other person to feel your independence. Ask yourself, when you're not around, does your absence feel like relief or a gap? If it's a relief, you've been too available. If there's a gap, you're building something. Principle 2, the law of non-reactivity. Your face is a confession. Every time you flinch, you teach people where to press. Most men are puppets with visible strings. Insults, praise, flirting, rejection. People tug and watch you dance. You call it having feelings. In reality, it's having handles. The ruthless aura begins when you remove the handles. Non-reactivity isn't being emotionless, it's being unsteerable. When someone tests you, they're not just being rude, they're running a diagnostic. They want to know, can they control your inner weather? If your mood changes based on their tone, they own you. So you learn to hold the line, you breathe, you watch, you delay, you let the moment hang until it reveals what it is. Most people feel tension with words. They babble, they defend, they justify, they try to be understood. The powerful let tension do the work. They don't win the interaction by talking. They win by refusing to be moved. Here's your move. The next time someone tries to provoke you, don't perform calmness. Don't smirk. Don't act. Simply pause, look at them like you're taking inventory, and then respond with fewer words than they expected. Not because you're playing a character, because you're not giving them free access to your nervous system. Your aura thickens the moment your emotions stop being public property. Principle 3, the law of visible competence. A ruthless aura is not built by intimidation. It's built by necessity. Most men want a shortcut. They want to look powerful without becoming powerful. They want the aura without the architecture. But aura is the shadow cast by substance. People bend around the man who can execute, the man who is competent under pressure, the man whose results are boringly consistent, not the man who talks about mindset. Reality respects proof. So you pick a domain, your body, your money, your craft, your leadership, and you become undeniable. Not to impress them, to free yourself. Because once you have proof, you stop negotiating your worth. And something changes. When you speak, people feel the weight of someone who has done difficult things voluntarily. That's rare. That's frightening. That's magnetic. You want a practical shift? Stop consuming power content as entertainment. Use it as a sentence, a verdict. If you watch this and then continue living like a spectator, you're not learning. You're coping. Your aura doesn't come from what you know. It comes from what you've survived by discipline. Principle 4, the law of unpredictable boundaries. Weak men have boundaries they don't enforce. Nice men have boundaries they apologize for. Powerful men have boundaries that appear without warning and are enforced without emotion. Read that again. Most people are easy to test because they're consistent in the wrong way. They always forgive. They always explain. They always give a second, third, fourth chance. So disrespect becomes a hobby for others. If you want that ruthless aura, you must become costly to handle incorrectly. Not through tantrums, not through threats, through clean consequences. When someone crosses a line, you don't negotiate your dignity. You don't rant. You don't write paragraphs. You remove access. You reduce warmth. You change the terms. You make it clear through action that you are not a place where disrespect goes to relax. And here's the part that separates men. You do it even when they're attractive, even when they're powerful, even when you want their approval. Because the moment you compromise your boundaries for status, you announce your price. And people will pay it once, then spend it on you forever. Unpredictable boundaries don't mean chaotic emotions. They mean your tolerance is not a playground. People cannot accurately calculate how much they can get away with. They only know this: it's not worth trying. Principle 5, the law of reputation. Before presence. You want to bend rooms? You don't do it with a dramatic entrance. You do it before you arrive. Most men only exist when they're physically present. The moment they leave, the room resets. No echo, no consequence, no memory. The powerful create an after-image. This is where most people get uncomfortable because it demands long-term thinking. It demands strategy instead of vibes. Your aura is built in the stories people tell about you when you're not there. Are you reliable or do you vanish? Do you finish what you start or do you talk in circles? Do you fold under pressure or do you become sharper? Reputation is a weapon because it travels faster than you can. So you become obsessively consistent. Not loud, not flashy, consistent. You show up on time. You deliver what you said. You keep your word even when it costs you. You don't gossip. You don't chase attention. You don't leak desperation. And then something cold and beautiful happens. People start pre-adjusting to you. They stop trying certain games. They stop bringing certain energy. Not because you demanded it, because your reputation trained them. That's aura. It's not a glow. It's a warning label. Principle 6, the law of detachment from outcome. This is where your spine is forged. Most men are controlled by outcomes. They want the deal, the girl, the approval, the invitation, the win. So they become obedient. They become agreeable. They become easy to steer because they're afraid to lose. The ruthless aura is born when you can walk away, when you can say no and not feel like you're dying, when you can lose something and still keep your posture. Detachment is not indifference, it's sovereignty. It's the internal statement. I would rather take a loss than become someone I despise. And people feel that. They feel it because it's rare, it's terrifying. It breaks the social contract of desperation. When you're detached, you don't chase, you select. You don't beg to be included, you decide what deserves your presence. You don't fear rejection, you fear self-betrayal. And suddenly, conversations shift, negotiations shift, relationships shift. Because the person who needs less has more power, not as a trick. As for physics, Principle 7, the law of strategic warmth. Now we sharpen it. A lot of men hear ruthless aura and they become a caricature, cold, edgy, performative. They mistake emotional constipation for dominance. That's not ruthless. That's insecure. Real power is not constant aggression. It's the control of contrast. Strategic warmth means you can be calm, even kind, but your kindness feels chosen, not automatic. It feels like a blade that decided not to cut. You give respect, but you don't worship. You listen, but you don't submit. You smile, but you don't seek permission. And when someone earns your warmth, it means something. Because you're not handing it out like a participation trophy. Most people are either nice all the time or harsh all the time. Both are predictable. The powerful can shift temperature without losing frame. They can be friendly while still being untouchable. That is what makes people lean in. They sense there's something behind the eyes, a standard, a code, a quiet refusal to be controlled. That's the aura that bends people, not through fear alone, but through gravity. And now we reach the part where you either evolve or you retreat back into comfort and call it peace. Because everything I've said demands a cost. It demands an identity death. Here it is. You have to kill the version of you that wants to be seen as good. Not because goodness is evil, but because your obsession with being seen as good has made you weak, transparent, manipulable. You have to kill the version of you that explains yourself to people who already decided they won't understand. Kill the version of you that negotiates with disrespect. Kill the version of you that confuses attention for value. Kill the version of you that keeps everyone close because solitude scares you. That version of you isn't soft, it's addictive, and your addiction has a predictable pattern. You trade power for comfort, then you call it maturity. It's not maturity, it's a surrender with better vocabulary. So here's your initiation moment. You are going to feel lonely when you stop being easy. You are going to feel guilty when you enforce consequences. You are going to feel uncomfortable when you stop reacting and start observing. That discomfort is not a sign you're doing it wrong. It's the sound of your old identity starving. Let it starve. Because on the other side of that, hunger is a different kind of peace. The peace of being untouchable. Not untouchable like a ghost. Untouchable like a king who no longer begs the crowd to recognize the crown. And when you build this aura, controlled access, non-reactivity, visible competence, enforced boundaries, reputation, detachment, strategic warmth, people won't understand you. They'll adjust. They'll watch what they say. They'll feel your presence before you speak. They'll either rise to your standard or disappear. And that is the final brutal truth. Your aura will cost you certain relationships. Good. Those relationships were never love. They were convenient. Now listen to the ending, because it's the doorway. If you want to live as a man who is respected even in silence, then you don't need more information. You need a decision. You need to choose to become difficult to manipulate, difficult to replace, difficult to disrespect. Not by pretending, by building a life that makes your posture honest. If you can handle that, then you already know what to do next. Leave a mark on this video only if you're willing to be held to it, because most people consume this like entertainment and go right back to being edible. If you're different, prove it. Step through the doorway and let the weak version of you stay outside, knocking, begging to be let back in.